Why do most people stay broke forever? Not just financially, but spiritually broke, mentally broke, emotionally bankrupt, living like ghosts in the machine, breathing, working, existing, but never truly living. You can see it in their eyes. You can hear it in the way they speak. There's no fire, no hunger, no belief that life could ever be more than what they've already known. And the worst part, they think it's normal. They've accepted mediocrity as their fate. Poverty of the mind as just the way it is, scarcity as a permanent condition of life. They wear their excuses like armor and their limiting beliefs like sacred scripture. It's the economy. It's the government. It's my upbringing. It's my boss, but it's never them. It's never their mindset, their laziness, their inability to discipline their focus or master their emotions. Most people don't stay broke because they lack opportunity. They stay broke because they refuse to become the person who can command prosperity. Not just chase money, but attract it through the power of clarity, purpose, belief, and relentless execution. Let me tell you something most people will never hear. You are never meant to live in lack. You are born rich in potential, in spirit, in creative power. You are designed with the same mind that built empires, the same imagination that launched revolutions, the same soul that dreamed up light bulbs, airplanes, and freedom. You are not a victim of fate. You are the architect of your reality. But that truth, it terrifies people. Because if you accept it, now you are responsible. Now it's not the system. It's not your job. It's not your parents, it's you. And most people would rather stay broke forever than accept that level of power. But you're not most people, or you wouldn't be here. So let's begin. Broke is not a bank account. It's a belief system. It's a virus of the mind, and the most dangerous part of this virus, it's inherited. Most people are taught to stay broke by people who never learned how to be free. Parents, teachers, society, they program us with poverty thinking long before we ever touch a dollar. They say, money doesn't grow on trees. They say, rich people are greedy. They say, just be grateful you have a job. They say, that's too risky. Play it safe. So you adopt the rules of the poor without ever questioning if those rules were written by people who ever escaped the game. And then you wonder why you never win. Listen to me carefully. Your mind is the operating system of your life. And if you're running outdated, fear-based, scarcity-driven software, your reality will always reflect that programming. Always. Think of Henry Ford. They laughed at him when he said he'd build a car for the common man. The elite scoffed. The engineers said it couldn't be done. His own investors doubted him. But he had one thing they didn't, an unstoppable belief. He said, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. That's not just a quote, that's law. So ask yourself, what have you been thinking you can't do? What have you been labeling as impossible? Because your mindset is still shackled to someone else's limitations. You don't need better circumstances. You need a better mind. All wealth begins in the unseen. Long before it shows up in your wallet, your business, your investments, it begins as a seed in your subconscious mind. Belief is the soil. Thought is the water. Action is the sunlight. But if the belief is rotten, nothing can grow. That's why most people never break through. They're trying to force external success without ever healing the internal disease. Joseph Murphy said it best. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. Are you operating as someone who believes they are meant for greatness? Or someone still begging the world for permission to win? Look at Walt Disney. Fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination, bankrupted multiple times, ridiculed by critics. But he believed. He walked through the ruins of failure like they were stepping stones. Because in his mind, Disneyland already existed. It was real. It was alive. It was already done. That's the power of belief. When your inner world is clear, the outer world must obey. That's not fantasy. That's physics. Most people stay broke because they never take the time to install belief. They repeat affirmations without feeling them. They set goals but sabotage their own execution because deep down, they don't believe they deserve to win. That inner conflict, it kills momentum. It turns ambition into anxiety. It turns dreams into dust. You've got to rewire your inner world so powerfully that wealth becomes inevitable, not because of luck or hustle, but because of alignment. You cannot build what you cannot see. Most people drift through life without vision. They don't plan their day, let alone their decade. They chase distractions, not destiny. They react, they scroll, they survive. But they never design a future worth living for. And make no mistake, vision is wealth. Every skyscraper started as a sketch. Every fortune started as a focused mind. Every revolution started as a decision that things will not stay the same. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest men to ever live, said that clarity of purpose was the foundation of all achievement. He didn't stumble into wealth. He saw it. He claimed it. He became it in mind before he ever received it in matter, and that's the missing link for most. They have vague desires. I want to be rich. I want to be free. I want success. But desire without direction is just noise. Wanting something isn't enough. You need to see it, feel it, live in it mentally every single day until it becomes more real to you than your current circumstances. That's not delusion. That's creation. Write your vision. Speak it out loud. Close your eyes and see yourself already living it. Not someday, no. That level of clarity collapses time. It bends reality. But if you wake up with no vision, no strategy, no internal fire, you will be manipulated by those who do have one. You'll build their empires while yours remains a fantasy. You don't get what you want. You get what you commit to, with absolute clarity and persistence. This is where 99% of people fail. They dream big. They read books. They get fired up watching videos. But when it's time to wake up early, they snooze. When it's time to stick to the plan, they scroll. When it's time to execute, they make excuses. Discipline is the currency of the universe. It's what transforms inner belief into outer reality. You can want success with every fiber of your being, but without discipline, you'll stay broke, bitter, and burdened by your own potential. Every great one understood this. Thomas Edison failed over 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb. Most would have quit after 10. But Edison wasn't chasing a result, he became the result. He didn't need motivation. He had a mission. And discipline is what carried him through every dark tunnel until the light finally came. Discipline is not punishment. It's freedom. The freedom to move forward when you don't feel like it. The freedom to choose your future instead of reacting to your past. The freedom to say no to everything that doesn't match your vision. People stay broke because they confuse comfort with peace. But comfort is the enemy of progress. It whispers lies like, you're fine where you are. You've done enough. You deserve to take it easy. No, you deserve to win, and winning requires war against distraction, against laziness, against the small voice that says, maybe tomorrow. No, you move today. You build today. You earn today, because the cost of waiting is everything you could have been. Faith without works is dead. Vision without execution is hallucination. Belief without action is wasted power. And yet, this is where most dreams die. People visualize abundance, but they never make the call. They study strategy, but never launch the business. They talk about freedom while trading their time for a paycheck they hate. Action is the only truth. You want to know how the successful rise while others fade? They move relentlessly, intentionally, unapologetically. They take messy action, imperfect action, bold action, and they adjust along the way. They don't wait for certainty, they create it by doing. Look at Abraham Lincoln. He lost multiple elections, failed in business, was crushed by personal tragedy, but he kept moving. He knew the cause was bigger than the cost. He knew that action was the only way forward. And eventually, the world followed. You don't need a perfect plan. You need movement, momentum, force. Your subconscious does not respond to what you say, it responds to what you do. Every disciplined action, every risk you take in alignment with your vision. It reprograms your self-image. It tells your mind, I am no longer that broke, limited, passive version of me. I am the creator now, take action. Loud, fast, deliberate action. Because the universe does not reward intention, it rewards movement. You must guard your energy, like a warrior protects his kingdom. Cut off the noise. Walk away from the gossip, burn the bridges if you have to. Because your future depends on your frequency. You can't rise to greatness while drowning in the energy of mediocrity. You can't fly if you're chained to the ground by people who fear the sky. This is why most people stay broke, not because they lack talent or potential or desire, but because they're addicted to the people who keep them small. They fear being alone more than they fear being average, and so they stay trapped in comfort, surrounded by familiar sabotage, dying a slow death in silence. But you must be willing to be the outcast, the black sheep, the crazy one who walks away from the village to build the empire. You must surround yourself with visionaries, with energy that lifts you, voices that remind you of your power, not your limits. You need to curate your environment the same way a king chooses his court, in weak minds. No jealous souls, no small thinkers. Because your environment is either a greenhouse or a graveyard for your dreams. People don't decide their futures. They decide their habits, and their habits decide their future. Look around. Most people live in a loop. Same morning, same complaints, same distractions. They chase comfort, not change. They talk about success, but they don't live like it. They scroll more than they study. They gossip more than they grind. They spend more than they invest, and then cry about being broke. They want millionaire results with minimum effort. They want freedom without sacrifice. They want transformation without discipline. But here's the truth. The gap between who you are and who you want to be is filled with habits. Not motivation, not hype, not luck. Discipline, daily, ruthless, non-negotiable. You have to rewire your identity through repetition, reprogram your mind like a machine, because your subconscious is always watching. Every time you hit snooze, it notices. Every time you skip the workout, it registers. Every time you break a promise to yourself, it believes you a little less. Success is not a lightning bolt. It's a thermostat. You rise or fall to the level of your self-image, and your self-image is built through repetition. So now you know most people stay broke. Not because they were born without a chance, not because the world is unfair, but because they never woke up. They never challenged the voice that said, this is just the way it is. They never dared to believe that abundance was already inside them. They let fear sit in the driver's seat. They let comfort steal their future. They chose to repeat instead of rebuild. But you're here for a reason. You've heard the truth, and once you've heard it, you can't unhear it. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You don't need to wait one more day. You need to decide right here. Right now, that your life will not be another echo of mediocrity. Decide that you will reprogram the patterns, that you will kill the excuses, that you will become the person your future is begging for. Because poverty is not just about money, it's about mindset. It's about the invisible chains you wear. Until one day, you get angry enough to break them. So break them. Let the world call you crazy. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. And while they sleep, you build. While they scroll, you study. While they wish, you work. While they stay broke, you rise. Because you are never meant to blend in with the masses. You are born to be different, to be disciplined, to be dangerous to every limitation that tried to own you. And one day, they'll ask how you did it, and you'll smile and say, I refuse to stay broke. In my wallet, in my work, and in my mind.